Once upon a moonlit night, Bay Street awaited the legendary march of the Saxon superstars, a Junkanoo group like no other. The streets were silent, holding their breath in anticipation, the air thick with the magic and energy that only the Saxons could bring. From over the hill in Mason's Addition, they began their journey, every step imbued with the soul and spirit of their ancestors. This was no ordinary march. It was a ritual, a call to the heartbeat of Junkanoo itself. The Saxons weren't just performers. They were heroes of rhythm and champions of the night. They donned vibrant costumes that sparkled under the starlight, each piece woven with the spirit of generations past. Feathers as tall as palm trees swayed from their shoulders. Colors as vivid as the Bahamian sea danced in their threads, and masks glittered like precious jewels. They were giants on Bay Street, glowing with an aura that no one could ignore. As they stepped onto Bay Street, their drums boomed like thunder, rattling windows and making the ground tremble. Boom, boom, boom! With every beat, the crowd felt the pulse of Mason's Addition, a place where passion and pride in Junkanoo ran deep like the roots of an ancient tree. The brass horns let out piercing calls that seemed to travel to the very ends of Nassau, announcing that the Saxons had arrived. They weren't here to play. They were here to rule, to let the whole island know that the Saxon superstars took Junkanoo as seriously as the rising sun. Young children clung to their parents' sides, wide-eyed with wonder, unable to understand why their hearts raced, why their hands clapped and feet tapped along. It was as if they, too, were connected to the rhythm, as though they could feel the magic of the Saxons lifting them into a world where Junkanoo was a force of nature. The Saxons put the funk in Junkanoo, blending drum beats, cowbells, and horns into a symphony that turned every listener into a dancer, every spectator into a fan. And it wasn't just the music. The Saxons moved with a grace and power that seemed otherworldly, gliding down Bay Street as if they were floating. Every step was a spell, every beat an incantation that captivated the crowd, bringing them to their feet. The fans could feel it. This wasn't just a performance. It was a legacy being brought to life, a declaration of pride from Mason's Addition to Bay Street. The night was theirs, and in that moment, all of Nassau was under their spell. The Saxons had a magic that no one else could match, a fire that burned brighter than the lights lining Bay Street. From Mason's Addition, they came as stars, and on Bay Street they blazed, proving once again that the Saxon superstars were more than just a group. They were the heartbeat, the pulse, the kings and queens of Junkanoo. And as the final notes echoed into the night, the crowd roared, knowing in their hearts that the Saxons didn't just play on Bay Street, they dominated it. They left behind a trail of pure energy, a spark that would live in every fan's heart, young and old. As the Saxon superstars began their triumphant march back to Mason's Addition, the energy they left behind lingered in the air. It was as if Bay Street itself had been transformed into a mystical pathway, a place forever marked by the power and passion of their performance. Back in Mason's Addition, the Saxons were welcomed like heroes, with cheers that echoed through every alley and every corner of the community. Families, young and old, gathered around, wanting to touch the costumes, to feel the feathers, to catch even a hint of the magic that had dominated Bay Street. Little ones reached out wide-eyed, hoping to feel the glittering costumes and hear the drums up close. They wanted to see if a trace of that magical energy still lingered in the cowbells and drums that had cast a spell on the whole island. But the Saxons were not merely resting. Even as they returned home, their eyes gleamed with a fire that never died. They knew that what they brought to Bay Street was more than a show. It was a legacy, a torch passed from one generation to the next. This wasn't just Junkanoo. It was the pride of Mason's Addition, the fierce and unstoppable spirit of the people. In the days that followed, children in the neighborhood would take to the streets, mimicking the moves of the Saxon superstars, shaking homemade shakers and beating drums fashioned from old pots and pans. They dreamed of the day they, too, could step onto Bay Street as a Saxon, feeling the heartbeat of Junkanoo in their veins, knowing they carried the power of their ancestors with every step. Parents would tell their children, "One day that will be you out there dancing for the stars, taking Bay Street like a true Saxon. We don't just play on Bay Street, we put our soul into it." The Saxon superstars had shown once again why they ruled the night, why they weren't just part of Junkanoo, they were Junkanoo. And as every star in the night sky twinkled over Mason's edition, it was as if the heavens themselves were honoring the legends who had turned Bay Street into their stage, a place where the Saxon spirit would forever dance, keeping the funk alive and blazing like an eternal flame. For the people of Mason's edition, the message was clear. Junkanoo wasn't just a celebration, it was a calling, a destiny, and a legacy. And as long as the Saxons held the beat, Bay Street would always belong to them, echoing with the unstoppable rhythm of the Saxon superstars, the kings and queens who put the funk in Junkanoo, all the way from Mason's edition.